All right, let's get into our post-game comments after Auburn's 62-57 win over Ole Miss. We've just come from the Auburn locker room. That'll be sort of the plan the whole postseason, both our days here in Nashville and then when we go to the NCAA tournament. We'll be reacting and getting as much sound out as we can quickly from the locker room for Auburn and Alabama. And then we'll be here to get your comments as we go live in the chat room. You can jump in with us. As always, Taylor Corn, Jim Dunaway here on the Basketball Show. And the Basketball Show being brought to you throughout March by our friends at Vulcan Tire and Auto.com. Vulcan Tire and Automotive, Vulcan Tire and Auto.com. It just dawned on me there. I've got to really pronunciate Vulcan and not go through it too fast. Vulcan Tire and Auto.com. More on words that come out on live TV in a moment. If you're heading into college basketball this March, a dead battery will not get you there before your next road trip this winter. Take your vehicle down to Vulcan Tire and Automotive for a comprehensive battery check. All of us here at the next round, we trust our vehicles with the team at Vulcan Tire and Auto, and they encourage you to do so as well. Locations all across the Birmingham area. You can find out more about everything they offer you and your vehicle at VulcanTireandAuto.com. Mention the next round and get the best tire pricing in the town, guaranteed, and 15% off any and all mechanical services when you mention the next round there with our friends at VulcanTireandAuto.com. Taylor Corn, as always,
hey guys,
your first reaction to the 62-57 win.
It looked like they hadn't played basketball in a week. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Far from the cleanest or best game that we've seen Auburn play this season, in my opinion. And I was actually listening this morning before the next round started to Charlie 5, Kyle Rush, and Zep Jasper. They also do a basketball show occasionally throughout the week. And he started talking about the break because he was asked, are these breaks beneficial from a player's perspective because he played at Auburn? And he said, everyone talks so much about the rest your legs and stuff. But he said, sometimes to me, it seems harder to come back. Your legs might feel fresher, but it seems harder. It's like you almost have to get into the rhythm of things, especially if you're playing well. You don't want to stop. You don't want to stop the momentum and
That's
stuff.
right.
And that's kind of what it looked like. I thought at times things looked better, but a lot of uncharacteristic things. I think we saw some sloppy passes that led to turnovers and then points off turnovers, which is not great. But they won, survive and advance, and I expect them to look better tomorrow now that they've got a game under their belt after a long break.
15 turnovers, 18-6 in points off turnovers in favor of Ole Miss, 15 turnovers by Auburn. And for a while in that game, you had Ole Miss that was actually rebounding with Auburn, stride for stride, and Ole Miss not known as one of the better rebounding teams. But then it's 46-46. And I talked to the guys in the locker room about this when we were in there. We were talking to them about just playing winning basketball, no matter what the style is. And Ole Miss plays a certain style, and Auburn's won games in a variety of different ways. And they went on an 11-1 run to win the basketball game. They hit 6 of their last 8 shots, championship form to finish and get the win. We'll get your comments now, always in the chat room. We appreciate you guys so much for chatting along with us.
Here, do you want me to? I can look at it on my
phone,
so you don't have to.
She's going to pass them up and handle that. I will make another point here. Chaney Johnson didn't score his first points in the game until he hit that three-pointer with 6 minutes to go to make it 49-46 to start that big run. Johni Broome in this game, 23 points, 14. They leaned on him late. It's his 18th double-double of the season, tying a record for Auburn. So that is a couple of facts for you there. Here's some comments for us, Taylor.
Well, for some reason now I'm having issues, but
let me just lean in.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay. No, everybody
Technical
understands.
Difficulties.
Ole Miss will upset someone in the tournament next week. They're just style of play. NH3425 thinks this Ole Miss team will beat somebody. They won't be a one and done in the NCAA tournament.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Quick answer there. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it would, and I think that's the thing that you have to think about. with a lot of SEC teams, when Auburn, we've talked about it a lot with Auburn and Alabama, whether it's a close win that you don't feel super happy with after, you don't feel like you just watched your team play elite basketball, or a loss. We could have 14 tournament teams in this conference.
That's right.
So I think that that's important to keep in mind. And I've said it, I don't know how many times, but a win's a win. Any conference game was a good win, relatively speaking. And the same goes here at the conference tournament. All of these teams are talented. And I don't think that there should be any major concern for playing a close game, for example, Auburn, because you're not playing teams that are not making the tournament. You're playing tournament teams, and we've talked all season about how strong the SEC is. So you might have a rough performance, but you are playing elite talent. So keep that in mind.
So Ole Miss could end up, when you got 6 and 12 teams in the tournament, they may beat somebody, may surprise somebody. I think the old saying is an elephant in the room. I won't go into another animal, but I'll let you read it for yourself. Kids, look away. SEC champ Troy, Bruce saying that his guards aren't soft, will be the word I'll use there on television, was hilarious. We won't get into everything the players said in the locker room, but stay tuned to At Next Round Live, because we asked them about that.
Yeah. Well, their facial expressions, it was very obvious that they had heard the soundbite. They'd probably seen it on Twitter. Someone had told them about it. They had either heard about it or seen the clip themselves, and their facial expressions are gold.
Yeah.
So we will send that out after we're done here.
They take great pride in being tough, we'll say. Auburn playing like a 6 seed lately, says default name. Response?
I think we have such short-term memory loss, which I don't even know if this could make sense, or recency bias.
Yeah,
Again, I don't know if that makes sense.
Short-term memory and memory loss, 3 different things that all could mean, hey, we forget how well Auburn has played at times.
Yes, and no team think about whatever your favorite team is, think about their best game. They don't play like that every game. And they had an incredible, historic regular season. I don't think they're playing like a 6 seed. Do I think they're playing their best basketball? No, far from it. But I think that they set the bar so high with some of the performances that we saw throughout conference play and the non-conference.
Right.
And we're holding them to a higher standard. And that is a standard that they set themselves. So you know what they're capable of doing, but you just can't expect to see their best every single time, which that's what we would like, but that's just unrealistic. That's never going to happen with any team.
SEC champs, that's the worst game I've seen Auburn all year. Went back to the P word there. Seemed to sleepwalk through the first 35 minutes. I will just tell you, maybe it's because Taylor and I were still here doing postgame last night at 12:35 a.m. or this morning at 12:35 a.m. The juice inside the arena wasn't all that for the first part of this basketball game. And I would say a lot of that had to do with the fact that the most number of fans that were in the arena for this game were Tennessee fans. They were there to observe a game and then cheer for Tennessee afterwards.
Right.
I would say 60% of the crowd watching that game was Tennessee fans.
Yeah, and then there was a decent amount of Kentucky fans too. I think it's people that buy, because there's 2 sessions, like the morning session, the night session. You buy a ticket and you get a ticket to whatever games are in that respective session. So it's not like Auburn fans are buying a ticket for the Auburn Ole Miss game. It's Tennessee fans have tickets to, in regard to what we're talking about right now, Tennessee fans have tickets to the Tennessee-Texas game, and they came early because their tickets also get them admission to the other game that's in that little sectioned time. So,
Yep. That's on me. It's on me, guys.
No, I did the same thing.
Yep.
So yeah, it got loud at times, but it was not a packed house of Auburn fans by any means. There were a lot of Tennessee fans, and then a decent amount of Kentucky fans. There was a decent amount of Auburn fans. I thought at times it got loud.
Yeah. We knew it was going to be a tough game because this was the third look
Yeah.
Chris Beard and his defense had at Auburn. So he's had two shots to try two different things. And what he tried down at Auburn at Neville was a worse decision than what he tried in Oxford. So he had a third look today to put a good defense out there. And I thought Chris Beard, they did a wonderful job of making Auburn earn the 62-57 victory. Not quite like playing Tennessee, but it's a lot like it when you play tough defense. James agreeing with everything you're saying. Spot on, Taylor, right there. Jeff says locked up overall number one in your opinion. My opinion, Jeff, you had the number one overall seed locked up before Cooper Flagg's injury. You had the number one seed locked up after the Cooper Flagg injury, and then you win your first game. So I'd say it's locked up. No way that a less than 100% Cooper Flagg Duke team can jump over an Auburn team with Auburn's resume. It just can't happen.
I think that game should lock up Johni Broome for National Player of the Year.
He dropped 23 and 14 for his 18th double-double.
And not just what you score, but when you score. Auburn, it was around the 4-minute mark in the second half. Auburn had held Ole Miss scoreless for 3 minutes prior, and that's when it was, it was tied. 46-46, I think it was, for a while. I believe Auburn hit a 3-point shot. I don't know. Whatever. That's besides the fact. But Auburn went on an 8-0 run. Johni Broome was responsible for 7 of those points, and I believe it was either 2 or 3. I think it was 3 defensive rebounds. So that just goes to show, again, that he can take over a game. He has the ability to take over a game, and we've seen him do it a couple times already throughout the season. But, I feel like his impact late in this game, and he missed a couple free throws, but at the end of the game, he was clutch.
Yep. Our Stu says, I was talking about Auburn, how they played great defense a whole possession, and then Ole Miss would make a shot. I mentioned that to Taylor a couple of times.
Yeah.
Great defense, and then they'd hit a fall-away jumper or something.
It was crazy. It was Padula.
Yeah. Aaron said Bruce on ESPN was very happy to hold Ole Miss to 57 points today. They can get after. They can score some points as well. It was an interesting game. I would say this, that you found a trend. Well, first, let's go back to the starting lineup. Chad Baker-Mazara didn't start. He checked in at 16:58.
Yep.
Obviously, a little bit of a punishment. Or I don't know about punishment. Just a little bit of a nod from Bruce Pearl that, hey, no matter what is done to you, you can't do what you did to get a flagrant 2 again.
Yeah.
So let's let everybody know that I've noticed this, and much like Pat Dye did the great Jeff Berger back in the day, all right, you did something wrong. You're not starting. Oh, there's one play. Now you get in there and quarterback my football team.
Right. It's almost like it's making a point to,
yeah.
I don't know about.
I acknowledge
like
to the world.
Yeah. It's like
hello world.
Everyone that's been tweeting at Bruce, Chad, whoever for the past week. Here you go.
Yeah, you're right.
He sat the remainder of that game. Obviously, involuntarily, he got ejected, but he had to sit that. And this is, I'm putting my foot down. Yeah. You're not starting.
So here you go. He didn't start, but now he's in there at 16:58 because you know what? We need him. And I still back him. I believe there were other things that went on that caused him to do that. He shouldn't do it. So you're not starting, but you're in at 16:58. Just like Pat Dye back in the day, Jeff Berger suspended for taking an illegal hunting trip, which was laughable back then in 1987, more laughable now. He said, all right, I'll suspend him. One play, doesn't start. Second play, boom, you're into the game. It's a coach saying, okay, that's what you guys, I understand. But here, we're going to play football. I'm going to worry about my team. Bruce said, we're going to play basketball, and we're moving forward. So that should put to an end the latest flagrant 2. And if he doesn't have another flagrant 2, then Chad Baker-Mazara should be able to move on with his life.
Yeah, as well, I think the question is, when is he going to stop being asked about it? Which, again, he put himself in the situation, and the only reason he's being asked these questions is because of his actions. So, you can't really complain about it. But prior to us talking to him after the game, he was standing behind us, and every single question that he was asked for probably the first 10 minutes. And again, I'm not saying that that's wrong because he's going to be asked about it and he put himself in that situation.
Right.
And he handled it very well, I thought, from what I heard.
That's what he said. Steve is actually saying, shout out to Chad Baker for the entire game. And then afterwards, everything he said so far, having his composure today.
And he was getting...
You could pout if you wanted to.
Yeah, you can. And he was getting... They were being physical with him. They were being... And I leaned over to Dunaway a couple of times during the game, and I was like, they are on Chad, which we knew was going to happen because, again, he put a target on his back. And I know there are going to be people saying, of course, Taylor's standing up for him. What he did was wrong. I don't agree with it. And I'm not trying to defend his actions by any means. No one is trying to defend his actions. But I'm just giving my perspective. And I do think there were times, and it was off-ball stuff too. It was offensively and defensively, really. They were, people were putting a little extra elbow into his side, stuff like that. They were being aggressive with him, as I think everyone that he sees down the road will be, because he did it to himself again.
I think Bobby makes a great point on Duke being the number one overall seed, or their claim to have a shot at that. And I think that also factors in to who should be the National Player of the Year. Just the competition that Duke has played on a week in and week out basis compared to Auburn. That's why Auburn should be the number one overall seed in the tournament. And I think it's why Johni Broome should be the National Player of the Year.
Can I read you a
Bobby
stat?
says resume should matter. Yes.
Okay, so I was scrolling Twitter. I need to make sure that I get the tweeter, the person who posted it, right, so that I can give credit. Kevin Skarbinski tweeted saying, I guess he wrote a article it was the comparison between Johni Broome and Cooper Flagg in terms of National Player of the Year. And he, I guess, pulled a part of his article out and said, fun facts for National Player of the Year voters. Sorry, I have hair stuck in my eye. At the conclusion of their regular seasons, Cooper Flagg, this was shocking to me in itself. Cooper Flagg did not lead the ACC in a single statistical category. He was in the top 5 in scoring, which he was 3rd, defensive rebounds 4th, and field goal percentage 5th. Johni Broome led the SEC in rebounds, total rebounds, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, blocks, and double doubles, and was in the top 5 in scoring, field goal percentage, and assist to turnover ratio, which is crazy because the way that he's been talked about, obviously I'm not watching Duke games as closely as I'm watching Auburn games, but the way that he's been talked about, I would think that he was leading every category under the sun in the ACC on his team in the ACC. Which, if he's leading it on his team, he's probably leading it in the ACC.
I would have guessed that too. That at least there was 1 or 2 categories that he would be in the lead of.
Right.
James says Broome's definitely that dude. The bias against this team as a whole is just ridiculous, in my opinion.
Chad had something to say about that too after the game.
He did. And we'll get to that post game coming up here. So make sure you got your alerts set up at Next Round Live, on all the platforms. Different stuff will be going out from TikTok, always on YouTube. Of course, on our social media, Twitter, Instagram as well. A lot of great post-game sound, not only from today, but for Auburn's rest of their run. And then, of course, the Alabama game later tonight when they take on Kentucky, where the atmosphere will be very different than it was earlier. It'll be a road game atmosphere tonight for Alabama, because last night there were 16,000 Kentucky fans in there.
It was crazy. It was crazy. Maybe we'll try and get some video of just
the crowd noise,
atmosphere, because I was actually floored.
Yeah. But, Auburn, if they end up playing Tennessee tomorrow, Auburn will have to deal with that, though Auburn brings a great crowd up here to Nashville and has a lot of great Auburn fans that live here. Tennessee had a lot of fans that had bought the tickets. Yeah. Of course, us being in Tennessee. Weather aware, you guys be weather aware tomorrow, and we'll be back tonight. Again, same routine tonight. We'll get a quick Alabama sample from the players out and then go as live as quickly as we can to get your comments afterwards. But Auburn wins. They'll play the first game on semifinals Saturday tomorrow at 12 noon, same time for the number 1 regular season champs. You don't have to change times. You just keep playing at your same time all week long. That's the benefit of being number 1. Auburn at 12 noon tomorrow, when they will take on the winner of this Texas-Tennessee game. And then Alabama, if they're able to survive tonight against Kentucky, would play the second game tomorrow in a less than, by the time it's all said and done, in less than a 14-hour turnaround.
How many overtimes are we going to see?
Yeah, hopefully no more, because it was a late night last night. Thank you for being with us. That's the basketball show brought to you by our great friends right there at Vulcan Vulcan Tire and Automotive. Vulcan Tire and Automotive. Heading to a college basketball game this March, a dead battery will not get you there before any road trip. Go to Vulcan Tire and Automotive to get checked out. They're all over the Birmingham area. Find a location near you and find out what Vulcan Tire and Automotive can do for you. VulcanTireandAuto.com, VulcanTireandAuto.com, and mention the next round and get the best tire pricing in town, guaranteed, and 15% off any and all mechanical services when you say the next round. That's the basketball show. Taylor Corn, Jim Dunaway. We'll see you tonight after the Bama game.